The health and safety there. Well, there we are. There are the buses almost ready to go. Let's go back to Sky's Phoebe Southworth, who is along the route. Phoebe, before we come to you, actually, we can see the players. I think they're not the players, are they? They're just some of the fans, are they? Or they? I don't recognise some of those. Nick, can you help me there? What were they? I think they just must be maybe staff getting onto the bus. So some of the members of the Arsenal team. Backroom team looks like they're getting onto the bus there. Let's go to Sky's Phoebe Southworth. Sorry there, Phoebe. Just had to cut across you to see who was getting on the bus. We're getting very close. What's the atmosphere like there?
It is absolutely electric here on Holloway Road, just a stone's throw from the Emirates Stadium. Hundreds of thousands of people that you can see around me have poured into the street to watch their team go by in a historic moment. 22 years since they last won the Premier League. How are you feeling, guys? What are you feeling like? Do you want to have a chat with us?
Amazing. I travelled all the way from Derby to London. This is the first time being to the Emirates Stadium. Yeah. So I can't explain how it feels. Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now.
22 years, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels so unreal. Yeah, I'm so happy right now.
With the trophy there, the players are getting on to the bus. Phoebe, we're going to cut across to you there because we're seeing the players getting onto the bus now, almost ready to set off on their open-top bus parade. So, Nick, we saw, that was Martin Odeberg. He just got it. I don't think he was meant to pick up the trophy there, was he? But he got it up, had a quick lift, and now we've got some of the players getting onto the bus.
And the players maybe have one or two sore heads after last night. They may have been drowning their sorrows. We shall see. Eberechi Eze, who's got a date with the England World Cup squad over the course of the summer. One or two fancy bits of headgear as well. We might have needed more of that if the weather had been more gloriously sunny this afternoon. But these are great moments. These are, if you talk to footballers about the greatest moments of their lives, they talk about these parades because there's no pressure. All the other great moments, they're all associated with pressure and all the build-up, having to deliver on the pitch. You can just enjoy this. Talk to the England cricketers who won the Ashes for the first time in 20 years in 2005. They still talk about that parade through central London and Trafalgar Square. Inebriated though many of them were.
Do you remember that?
They say they remember it, and they say they remember it as one of the best days of their entire careers. These are really special afternoons. We've talked about the fans. They are very special afternoons for the players in the squad.
Imagine being in that strong of players there. You're looking out at the fans. There's the connection between the fans and the team, the players. And as you say, these are those magic moments. Actually, it was really interesting seeing some of them get on the bus. They looked a little bit down. I guess they're tired. Of course, they lost the final of the Champions League last night. But I'm predicting as they get further along there and they see the appreciation from the fans, things are going to change. Their mood will change. There'll be big smiles on their faces.
Oh, I think they're already looking forward to this. They've arrived. They've driven through the streets in their chauffeur-driven vehicles, or however they got there, and they will have seen, because we know they've been there for hours and hours, they will have seen the fans building up. And any doubts they might have had, will there be a good turnout? Because we didn't deliver for the fans last night. That will have hurt a lot. But once they've seen the turnout that was there, even as they were driving to the parade, they will have known this is going to be a terrific afternoon for them.
How important is that connection between the fans and players? I mean, whoever you support, whatever team you support, that connection needs to be there, because when you're on the pitch, when you go away from home and you have a smaller section of fans that are coming to support you, that it's actually invaluable, isn't it, that extra support from the fans?
Let's be honest, it's changed over the years. Players are not as close to fans as they used to be. The days when a player would sometimes go into a local pub after a game and drink with the fans, those days are long gone, can't happen anymore. But the connection with the fans and the players is crucial, and the opinions of the fans is still really important. It's been illustrated in brutal fashion, if you like, 24 hours ago. 24 hours and about 95 minutes ago is when Liverpool sacked Arne Slot. Let's remember, he'd brought Liverpool this title 12 months ago, and he was on his way, above all, because the fans, he'd lost the support of the fans, and if you lose the support of the fans, it's really hard for the board to keep you in the job, even if they want to. So the connection with the fans is important, and Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal coach, who was a player with them, player with Rangers initially when he came to the UK, and then a player with Everton, a player with Arsenal, learned his trade under Pep Guardiola, who became, as you say, his rival, and is now the manager of Arsenal. There he is, arm in arm with his captain, Martin Odegaard, celebrating the fact that they have delivered for those fans over the last 9 months, starting way back in mid-August last year and culminating in winning the title in this month of May.
And here they are, ready to lift the Premier League trophy in front of the fans. Mikel Arteta, Martin Odegaard, they're ready to lift the trophy. Nick, what would this feel like? It would be fantastic. Well, let's just listen in for a moment. Fantastic scenes for Arsenal fans then. There was a moment there when Martin Odegaard and Mikel Arteta held the trophy up there, and the flares were in the background. There's sort of smoke, red smoke behind. It almost looked like a work of art, Nick. Yeah, that some Arsenal fan could put on their wall. But it's a special moment for them, having waited so long for that trophy.
It depends how you like your art, Sean, but yes, it looks as though the sun has gone down over the Emirates Stadium all of a sudden. But looking for these fantastic shots from our helicopter high over Islington and looking down to the buses there. Remember, 4 of them setting off pretty soon. 2 o'clock was the planned time, so they're not far off schedule. I've known parades that have started very much more delayed than this one. Looks like this one's going to get underway quite quickly. A nice photo for Eberechi Eze
and
of his teammates.
And looks like a sort of old school camera from Eze.
Well, these are the occasions, aren't they, when you dig. It could be, I wouldn't be surprised, I've known this happen before, that somebody from the club staff has handed out everybody, go on, have one of these for the afternoon. I've seen that happen before. It might be that's happening again with us.
Yeah, and of course, Eze, he was taking a picture of Declan Rice there. They will be teaming up with the England team for the World Cup coming up very soon. And I understand that's why the parade is today, so soon after the Champions League final, because those players will have to be teaming up. All of the international players will be teaming up with their national teams.
It's part of it, and also the clubs do like to get the parade on as soon as they possibly can. If they can, got to consult obviously with local authorities and the police, and depending when you've won your trophy, depends whether there's other playing commitments. But yeah, no question at all that the England management, Thomas Tuchel and his assistants, will be very pleased that this parade is being, as they would see it, got out of the way today, so that they can focus on England. And of course, the part of the job for the England management is to just give the relevant players, you talked about Eze, you talked about Rice, enough time to chill and relax, maybe not involve them in the first of the 2 pre-World Cup friendlies possibly, just to make sure that they're not completely exhausted. And that's so often the problem with England players by the time the World Cup itself comes around. But let's not focus too much on England. It's an Arsenal afternoon and thoroughly deserved.
And so those England players, just to say, they fly tomorrow. But we're back here with Arsenal. The bus is going very slowly, isn't it? Just remind us who's on those buses. There are 4 buses, aren't there?
4 buses, one with the Arsenal players, then the Arsenal men's staff, then the Arsenal women's team, who had a victory of their own in the match against the South American champions that they won quite dramatically in the winter against Corinthians of Brazil. So they're in the 3rd bus, and then representatives of the community in bus number 4. So a great chance for the women's team as well, who came into this season with really high hopes, didn't deliver on all their expectations, if we're honest about it, but a great chance for them to enjoy enormous crowds, and they can reflect on the successes they've had over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and you saw all the cameras that we have along the parade. We will be covering this parade for the next few hours, just to show Arsenal as they celebrate winning the Premier League title. There are some of the I think there must be backroom staff there, or some of the players. And here is a great scene in North London as the fans wait, expectant, waiting for their players to arrive on the open-top bus parade. And we've mentioned it quite a few times today, Nick, but there is no sign of last night's defeat in anybody's faces there, are there?
No, you enjoy the moment. It's an afternoon of celebration. If we're talking about the Champions League at all, we're talking about the fact that Arsenal got to the final for the first time since 2006, and only the 2nd time ever. Sky's Jamie Carragher said yesterday It was a huge disappointment, an embarrassment was his word, that Arsenal have only reached 2 Champions League finals for a club of their stature. Well, Mikel Arteta and those players on that front bus are doing their best to ensure that that figure rises, starting with next season. But it's mostly about the Premier League this afternoon, the trophy there right at the front of the bus as the parade is set to start, by the look of it, any second now, about 11 minutes late from just outside the Emirates Stadium.
Yeah, and let's remember, so they've won the Premier League and they've made 2 cup finals this year. That's some achievement. Had things gone a little bit differently, and there's the women's team we're seeing on one of the other buses. Had those finals gone differently, because as we know, working in sport, it's fine margins, isn't it? They could have been on for a treble.
You're going dangerously close to ifs and buts territory, which is very, very dangerous ground. Let's think about what they did achieve, which was the Premier League and the International Champions Cup in the case of Arsenal's women, and it may be that in a year's time they're back with another parade, but nothing in coming years is likely to match this, because of even if they win the Champions League next season, even if they do the double next season, it'd be really hard to match this feeling for the Arsenal fans,
because this is the
first one in more than 2 decades. I talked to a few Arsenal fans this week about whether they would have preferred to win the Premier League or the Champions League. I knew the answer. The answer is the Premier League, and there was no one who dissented from that view, because it's such a long time. You play the Premier League, it's your bread and butter. It's what you do every season from middle of August to the middle of May, and there's never a bad Premier League champion. It's always the right champion. It's dictated by the results over 38 games, and those guys on the left have delivered, deservedly so, for all those people on the right.
And when we see the pictures of the fans, you kind of sense that there's a real family atmosphere. And there we are, outside the bus is starting to move, so that's a camera on the bus. One of those buses, I think the men's team bus. So we're getting a real sense that things are starting to move, Nick. But as you're saying, I'm wondering what the other sort of van is. We think it might be the DJ following in on the convoy. But it's a family feeling. We've had interviews with Barnaby and Phoebe talking to families, so the father and mother, but also the children, and that's really important, isn't it? That a football club sort of renews its fans and gets kids on board, and this will do them so much good as a club.
Definitely, and football is now a very, very expensive game to go and watch at the top level. So this is a chance for kids, families, to get really close to their heroes, and it's going to be a great family atmosphere. There will be, I tell you, there will be lots and lots of layers of security waiting around the streets, out of sight if needed, but they won't be needed. It's going to be an afternoon of celebration. And there is Declan Rice on the left, the front of the bus, looking forward to a summer with England as well. But it is all about Arsenal this afternoon.
Is it interesting what we were talking about, how they looked a little bit glum when they first got onto the bus, and we sense that perhaps when they actually see the fans and they see the turnout, that would change their mood. And Declan Rice sort of summed it up within that shot. He looked like he was soaking it up, but was quite pensive. And then when he saw some of the fans, look, there's the smile on the face. And I think he's going to have that for the next 2 hours.
Yes.
The fans show their appreciation.
If he's going to keep sticking his thumb up for the next 2 hours, he's going to have a sprained thumb by the end of 2 hours. But these are great scenes, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier on. The weather is ideal. It's nice and warm and dry and sunny without being as threateningly grilling as it would have been if we'd had the temperatures of 4 days or so ago. It's absolutely perfect weather for one of these.
Yeah, we have reporters along the scene with cameras all the way around. We have a helicopter view, as you can see there. So Phoebe and Barnaby are out there. I'm joined by Nick Powell, former sports editor here at Sky News, now sports broadcaster, and giving us a real insight into what it's like for the players, what it's like for the fans, the importance of this for Arsenal Football Club. And we've been looking a little bit ahead to see whether this might be an era for Arsenal Football Club, but our crystal balls aren't probably that good, are they, Nick? We're talking about the connection between the fans and the club, and this is what it really means isn't it, for a whole season. You play all those games. They got 85 points. They finished 7 clear of Manchester City. They are deserved winners of the Premier League, certainly, aren't they?
No question about that at all. One of the big questions now is what is the future in terms of this summer in the transfer market, because there's no question that all the big clubs have to keep rebuilding, have to keep refresh your squad when you're winning as well as when you're losing. Do it from a position of strength. So Mikel Arteta probably at the back of his mind, even on this parade, he's probably even today thinking about how we're going to recruit for this summer. He's already said that the board need to be after him. The football clubs these days have a great deal of support around the issue of mental health, generally both internally and, when required, externally. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Gabriel and Eze, if they need it, will get far more help than was available to the likes of Gareth Southgate and Chris Waddle and others back in the day who missed famous penalties for England. But nothing is ever going to take away the pain of knowing that you had that kick to keep Arsenal in the Champions League and it went sailing over the bar. And I know that there have been all sorts of memes going around, all sorts of unkind WhatsApp messages from fans of other clubs who, let's be honest, were enjoying Arsenal's failure. But if you're a fan of football, if you played football at all, you can only have sympathy for Gabriel, and also you take your hat off to him for having the guts to come up and take it. And Arteta said he wanted to take the last penalty.
Well, let's go straight to Phoebe, because the buses are coming to you, Phoebe, right now.
Winning the first FIFA tournament of its kind from inside. People are chanting, flares are going off, red smoke is filling the area here where fans are packed in to get a glimpse of those players. An absolutely deafening noise as the buses went past, and it's not over yet because we also have the staff buses and the community buses, people who are important to Arsenal and the team. And here they go. People are setting off poppers here. We've got police officers running behind the bus just to make sure that everyone is safe. And this is a moment that Arsenal fans are going to remember for a very, very long time. People are waving, people are waving their flags. They are setting off poppers, they are setting off flares. On Holloway Road here, it's absolutely filled with red smoke.
Phoebe, I don't know if you can hear us, but that was a fantastic moment as the bus went by. I mean, we could sense it here in the studio, and I'm sure people at home could really sense that. Almost sent a shiver down my spine because it was kind of emotional, it was passionate. What was it like being there right by the buses?
It was unforgettable, an incredible experience. The noise level here is absolutely deafening. People are chanting, people are shouting Arsenal, people are setting off flares. And we're going to speak to some people now. How does it feel?
It feels very good. I can't believe I've seen the players for the first time. This is my first time seeing the players.
Your first time?
Phoebe, thank you so much for that. It was fantastic to get a real insight as to what it's like down there, right by where the buses go by and with the fans, and what the fans are like after the buses have gone by. Well, let's go to our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, who is on the way to the parade, having flown in from Budapest. Rob, a long night for you, but you're on your way there. This is a...
And what's so incredible is this is the third time big numbers in recent weeks. They did so drawing with Bournemouth, handed them the title. Estimated there.
I think we're losing you, Rob. I'll see if we can get back to you in a minute. But in the meantime, we're looking at the players on the bus there. There's Rail, the goalkeeper, celebrating winning the Premier League title. Nick Powell, bring you in, our former Sky News sports editor. And one of those things that we could actually hear Rob saying is that they have celebrated quite a lot recently, because they celebrated the day they actually won the title, and now they're celebrating here with all the fans on the streets.
Absolutely fantastic scenes, and these are scenes that are going to be seen all around Europe, all around the world. People are going to watch these pictures. These are great pictures, and I'm sorry to make this point, but they're going to contrast it. This is the losing team from the Champions League final. They're going to contrast it with the pictures they've seen from Paris that are also being beamed around the world, where we've seen much less savoury scenes, much less pleasant atmosphere, large numbers of arrests in France. Here in England is the team who have lost the Champions League final and just producing a glorious spectacle. Look at that, without even a whiff of trouble.
Yeah, just to bring you up to date on that, the PSG parade actually started at 1 o'clock, but there have been arrests after clashes last night. 800 people were referring to, but we're seeing nothing like that here. This is just a big celebration.
I said to you, Sean, that I was looking out for the best vantage point. The fellow there is a contender, isn't he? Was that a traffic light he was on top of? We saw somebody, as Phoebe was talking before, there was somebody who was on precariously perched on top of something like a lamppost, and no doubt there will be other contenders as the afternoon goes on. But what fantastic scenes. And I know people often say we don't want flares. Well, we don't want flares around football grounds because they can be dangerous and they can obscure people's views. But it definitely adds to these pictures that we're seeing from North London this afternoon.
Yeah, having seen that man elevated on, I think it was a lamppost or whatever, something like that. If I was a health and safety officer, I'd be very anxious now. But what is it about sport that can bring people together in this way? Because you don't see this sort of thing, I don't think, in any other walk of life. A club where these are all people, most of them don't know each other, but they are brought together, almost like they're part of a tribe, to be part of Arsenal Football Club. What is it that brings people together in this way?
Yeah, it's unlikely that the Islington Shakespeare Society is going to celebrate anything in quite this fashion. It's the shared experience, isn't it? The fact that so many hundreds of thousands of people can follow a club for so long, through generations. Loads and loads of these fans will have fathers, grandfathers and people before that who've supported Arsenal and supported them through thick and thin. And you wait and you don't change your club. At least we hope, if you're a proper fan, you don't change your club, you don't join on the bandwagon, you stick with your club. And you hope that one day the club will come good, and Arsenal have come good gradually again over the last 5-6 years. And now, if the board can do their stuff this summer and provide the reinforcements that Mikel Arteta, the manager, is asking for, then every prospect that they can have many years of parades like this.
Yeah, and those fans have been through, tougher times. Obviously, this is a celebration after so many years of not having the Premier League. I'll talk to you about that in just a moment, but let's just go back to our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, who, as I said, is on the way to the parade, having flown in from Budapest. Rob, we sort of missed your answer, but just talking about the parade and the atmosphere and how it's such a special atmosphere in North London today.
It is, and so many fans want to be there, just coming from Budapest, from the airport now. So many trying to find any means possible. The trains are actually quite overcrowded. They've had to stop some of them. It gives a real sense of how many hundreds of thousands want to be there lining the streets to get any glimpse of the bus. And what's incredible is it's the third time in recent weeks that we've seen such an outpouring on the streets. They did it the night they won the title thanks to City dropping points. They did it last Sunday when they collected the Premier League trophy, and they weren't even collecting it at the Emirates. They collected it at Crystal Palace in South London, but then it still became that focal point to descend yet again on the Holloway Road and all those surrounding streets. And it tells us quite a bit about community, people feeling part of a community, cutting through all sorts of social stratas, and it's just where everyone is sort of bonded by football. We hear it quite often about football uniting the world. This really is a case of football bringing so many together, and a real reflection of the years of pain of not winning trophies. It's the women's team that's been collecting them, the men's team going through all the years of struggle, and this is why fans go week in, week out. This is why perhaps they might jeer the team, why they might go against them, because they're yearning for this sort of day again to be able to get to celebrate. And it's interesting the fact, despite last night's pain in Budapest, they're able to celebrate, because one trophy certainly to some might be exceeding the expectations. Yes, they've been getting those second place finishes in the Premier League and believing that they could make and win the big prize, but to win a double would have been perhaps beyond the evolution of this team at the moment. And for another day they'll be dwelling on some of the agony of last night, using it as fuel to try to finally conquer Europe. But for today it really is about being champions for the first time since 2004, and having to overcome really the might of Manchester City, the Pep Guardiola dominance, the financial muscle that they do have, and to have done so after all the near misses, falling short, not even making the Champions League places for so many years, for 6 years, to be back at the top. And this is what it means for them. And it obviously helps the weather's pretty good as well, as a good reason to go out and have a party.
Certainly is good weather. I mean, Rob, you talk about that coming up against Pep. I was talking with Nick earlier on about Arsene Wenger coming up against Ferguson, and now Arteta, many years without a trophy. People he was under a bit of pressure that he hadn't won a trophy for a while and hadn't won the Premier League, but he was up against one of the greatest managers of all time in Pep Guardiola. When we judge managers, and when managers lose their jobs because they haven't achieved what the fans and the board expect them to do, we always need to remember who they're up against, and you could be up against someone very good. But now Arsenal don't have Pep Guardiola against them, and so many other clubs are changing their managers. Could this be Arsenal's era for the next 10, 15 years?
Well, this period of transition should help a club with stability. In fact, Liverpool yesterday sacking Arne Slot, Chelsea with yet another new manager in Xabi Alonso, Tottenham, another team with a period of still uncertainty with Roberto De Zerbi. Yes, and it is a moment. Manchester City now preparing to, of course, point Pep Guardiola's successor, believed to be Enzo Maresca. So Arteta is suddenly the long-serving manager, a disciple of Guardiola, having served as his assistant, and it is a real achievement of his. Not many managers in their first managerial job go and win the league title, and that's something that he's managed to do. And that's certainly something that sets him apart from so many as a manager. And just to see his evolution of the team as well, having to put up with so much as well, the ridicule, even some of his tactics around the training ground. He memorably played "You'll Never Walk Alone," the Liverpool anthem, at the training ground to get the players used to Anfield, and that was something almost he was mocked for. He got a dog called Win, brought that out on the training ground, played some social media videos on a big screen, but ultimately, whatever tactics his approach, however he sort of tried it, it has paid off, because he has delivered the main prize, the Premier League trophy, and now it will be about how to build on this, and it might be about a change in style, the defensive style, the reliance on set pieces. Perhaps we saw in Budapest how that came unstuck, because when they had to soak up waves of pressure from Paris Saint-Germain, completely dominating, ultimately one mistake proved costly when they conceded that penalty in the second half, leading to the equaliser and eventually taking us all the way through to the shootout. But I'm sure Arteta will be dwelling on that at some time through the summer, going through all the videos, and it'll be interesting to see how tactically things do change as well. So many influenced by Guardiola over the years, that possession-based football. Liverpool, we're told, decided to sack Slot because they weren't happy with his style of football. They wanted him to be a bit more attacking. Well, that's maybe some of the criticism of Arteta at the moment. You can't always be as defensive. Maybe you need to go for it and be exhilarating, although Paris Saint-Germain are absolutely at top of their game in terms of dynamic attacking football, so very hard to take them on that. But for now, it's those scenes, the bus going through, every bit of pavement taken up by fans trying to get a glimpse of the bus. And you don't get this at all clubs. Not every club gets this. Some might be wondering, you know, why is there perhaps so much focus and attention on this parade and on Arsenal? This is quite unique. We're not seeing clubs all around the country when they win the league titles getting such an outpouring on the streets, and so often as they have done in recent weeks, with this title being wrapped up a couple of weeks ago, and also just what it means to them as well.
And you mentioned that Arteta, when he's won the Premier League in his first managerial job, is this a lesson to other clubs that actually sacking your manager every other season isn't the way to go? Actually sticking with the manager, despite criticisms that you haven't won something, but building something is actually the way you win trophies in the long run.
And perhaps Arteta's a rare example of that perseverance that you don't really see. We all know about the early days of Sir Alex Ferguson. He arrived at Manchester United in 1986, took until 1993 to win the league. You don't get that patience really at clubs, and not just from the ownership but from the fan base as well. So in fact, Arteta's been given time to develop his team, has ultimately paid off to bring about a new culture, to bring about stability at the club as well. So, you know, that's something that will be interesting to see what he can do to build from this. Often we get talk of a dynasty. Can he build something even bigger from this moment as we witness the bus snaking its way through and fans trying to find a way through to there, as are many of us as well, as I do, having just flown in from Budapest and making my way hopefully to join up with that very shortly.